Why was the DeCieVer chosen? Good morning, good morning. This is Sadu Aben Makir Aben Yassa Solan. And this morning I was inspired by a post that I actually read, I believe from the individual named Deborah. Is it Deborah Israel? And she was speaking on why would Yod-He Wav-He give the commandments just for it to be too hard for the children of Israel to keep. For it is written that the commandments is not too hard to understand. The commandments is not afar off, but the commandments are very near unto you. So why would the God of Israel make a covenant that was too hard to keep with a people that he ultimately knew he would have to punish because it was just too hard for them to keep all the laws and commandments that they agreed to? And there's a simple solution to that question of why was the DeCieVer chosen? Why was it so hard, so difficult for the people, the children of Israel, to keep the Torah? Almost immediately before receiving the commandments, they had already broke the commandments when they made the calf in the wilderness. Through the whole 40 years in the wilderness, they were being punished because of their blatant disobedience. A whole generation of Hebrews had to die in order for the next generation to make it into the land of Canaan. Soon after, the prophet Joshua ben Nun passed away. And you turn to the book of Judges. You read all type of wickedness and sins almost immediately after the death of the prophet Joshua. And this sin and this wickedness continued all the way up into the reign of King David. Even David himself had sinned. By killing a man and raping his wife. Even the son of David, King Solomon, also sinned and married strange wives and created temples and monuments to the gods of their nations. And every other king sinned after them. The 12 tribes of Israel continually sinned against their God. So the question is, why would God make a law that his people could not follow? Why would God pick a people so rebellious? For as their liberator has said himself, for you are a stiff-necked people. For you have been rebellious ever since I have known you. And this was spoken by the prophet Moses before his passing away. As we read through the Torah, the Old Testament, we read basically that the Israelites never, from the conception of the Torah, from the Exodus, the Israelites never kept their agreement with the God of Israel. But they continually displeased the God of Israel to the point that they were banished out of their own land and cast out amongst their enemies to be servants and handmaids, to die through struggle and oppression, because they were incapable of keeping the law of God. Why was the deceiver chosen? And you might ask, well, who is the deceiver? Who is the great rebellious one who has deceived many? This great deceiver goes by the name Jacob. Whose name was changed for that very reason. So to understand exactly why was the deceiver chosen, we hear a lot of people talk about the chosen people of God, the children of Israel, the chosen people. Nobody really talks about what was they chosen for. See, we say the people of Israel, the children of Israel, was chosen. But chosen for what? What was they chosen to be? What was they chosen to do? What was the meaning of their choosing? What was the plan of the Almighty? Why did he choose such a rebellious people? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Why? Out of all the families of the earth, why was the most rebellious people on earth chosen to be God's people? Why was Jacob's name changed? What was the meaning of his name change? What was the significance in the changing of his name? Why did his name need to be changed? What was going on that caused this great change of Jacob's name? From Jacob to Israel. Let's start with the story of Jacob and the birth of Jacob. So let's turn the pages to get an understanding of the birth of Jacob. So we get a better understanding of who Jacob was and why was Jacob chosen. Let's turn the pages to the birth of Jacob and Esau. The children struggled together within her, according to Genesis chapter 25. And she said, "If it is thus, why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two people from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger. When her days to give birth were completed, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red, all his body like a hairy cloak. So they called his name Esau. Afterwards, his brother came out with his hand holding Esau's heel. So his name was Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So in the beginning, we read that they were given names based on the characteristics of how they were birthed. And because Esau was hairy like a garment, he was given, like a cloak, he was given the name Esau. And because Jacob, or the second child, grabbed hold to the heel of the hairy child, that child was called Jacob. Why was the DeCieVer chosen? And where we will have to go is into the understanding of the name itself. And what does Jacob mean? A lot of us who are beginning biblical scholars and we're trying to figure out the biblical story, we tend to overlook the fact of meanings within the biblical names, which gives an understanding to the walk of those people, or the actions, or the role of that object or place. So in this case, we're just going to deal with the name Jacob, or how they pronounce in modern Hebrew, Yaakov. Yaakov. What does Jacob mean? What is the definition of Jacob? Which is Aleph. Excuse me. Yod, Ein. Pei. Excuse me. Kuf. And Bet. What does Jacob mean? So we got to go into our Strong's Concordance to give us a better understanding of Jacob. Now the Strong's Concordance 3290. 3290. In your Strong's Concordance, if you want to know, what is the definition of Jacob? Strong's Concordance 3290. What it would tell you is Jacob is the Israelitish patriarch of the 12 tribes. That's what it would tell you. But there's a deeper meaning to the name Jacob. And the deeper meaning of the name Jacob comes from Akib. Akeb, which is your Strong's Concordance number, 6119. Akeb. Akeb is where Jacob comes from. Akeb means footprint, footsteps, heel, hoof, rear guard, trail, lair in wait. So it still gives the understanding of foot or heel being the event of Jacob grabbing the heel of Esau. But it gets deeper. Because according to Akeb 6117, Akeb. Six, one, seven. In your Strong's Concordance, Akeb, Ikeb. This is where Jacob or Jacob comes from. 6117. Akeb means to follow at the heel, assail, insidiously, overreach, supplanted, to deal craftily. To deal craftily. To deceive, to deal in a deceitful way. So the name Akeb means to deal in a deceitful way, to supplant, to insidiously overreach, assail, to follow at the heel. So Yaakov, the yod is a prefix meaning he will or they will. He will or they will. Like in the name Israel, which means he will prevail or they will prevail. So the yod in Yaakov is a prefix, which means he will or they will. According to Strong's Concordance, 6:1:1:7, the kib means to supplant, to insidiously overreach, assail, to deal craftily, to be deceitful. So if you was to put the yod here, to make it Yaakov, that means that he deceives or they deceive. They deal craftily. He deals craftily. They will supplant. He will supplant. So the name Jacob or Yaakov actually means he will deceive. That's what it actually means. He will deceive. Or they will deceive. Now we are getting closer to the understanding of the character of Jacob and the character of his children and those who descend from him. And the character of Jacob was deceitful. to the character of Jacob. The name of Jacob itself means to be a deceiver. So, the question remains, why was the deceiver chosen? Why was the children of Jacob chosen? Why was Jacob chosen? Or was he chosen? Who did Jacob deceive? If Jacob was a deceiver, who did Jacob deceive? Who did he deal with craftily? Who did Jacob supplant? Who did Jacob lie to? Who did Jacob steal from? Who really was Jacob? And how did he get his blessings? The deceiver. Who did Jacob deceive? And what we will have to do is we will actually have to go to the book and read on exactly who did Jacob deceive? Who did Jacob lie to? Who did Jacob steal from? So we must go to the beginning, to the Genesis, chapter 25. Genesis 25. In Genesis 25, chapter 25, we start to see the deception of Jacob. We start to see the character of Jacob, and truly he is a deceiver. The deception of a deceiver. So let's get into this. Let's get an understanding of why was the deceiver chosen. Genesis chapter 25, verse 28. Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the field and he was exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stew, for I am exhausted." Therefore his name was called Edom. Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright now." We see that Jacob, seeing his brother exhausted in hunger, ready to pass out from being in the field, hunting, and not coming back with any food. He was wore out. He was exhausted. He was tired. He was weary. And this was the opportunity that Jacob used to acquire his brother's birthright. Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright now." Esau said, "I am about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear to me now." So he swore to him and sold him his birthright. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank, and rose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So we see that Jacob used the opportunity of his brother being exhausted and feeling like he was going to die. All he wanted was something to eat. And Jacob, being crafty and dealing with his brother crafty, gave him an ultimatum. If you want to survive, you must sell me your birthright. In the time of extreme hunger and exhaustion, a person would almost give up anything. And Jacob used this to craftily take away his brother's birthright. This is the first example of Jacob's deceit and showing himself as a deceiver. Chapter 27 of Genesis, the beginning. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau, his oldest son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." He said, "Behold, I am old, and I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father speaking to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food, that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 young goats, so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." But Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man. I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him, and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing." His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go bring them to me. Let your curse be on me." So this is saying that he will be cursed. And the curse will be because of his mother's doing. His mother told him to deceive. Not just he deceived his brother, but now it is his mother, the wife of his father, who tells her son to deceive his father, to dishonor his father. And Jacob listened to his mother, knowing what he was doing was wrong, but yet he was insidious in the overreaching of his brother's birthright. He snaked his brother out of his birthright when he was hungry and weary and almost about to die. He made his brother sell him his birthright. Now, his own mother is deceiving her own husband by sending Jacob in to portray, to imitate himself as his brother, to steal the blessing. verse 13 of Genesis chapter 27. His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go bring them to me." So he went and he took them and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her oldest son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth parts of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob, the deceiver. So he went into his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am." "Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near, that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him, because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, "You are really my son Esau?" He answered, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it near to me, that I may eat of my son's game and bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him. And Isaac smelled the smell of his garment and blessed him and said, "See, the smell of my son is the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine." Let people serve you. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's son bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. As soon as Isaac finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out of the presence of Isaac, his father Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me." His father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" He answered, "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau." Then Isaac trembled very violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it all before you came?" and I have blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed. As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me, even me also, O my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing." Jacob. Jacob, the deceiver. He deceived his brother in his hunger, in his thirst, in his weariness. He deceived his brother into selling his birthright. He conspired with his mother to deceive his father in stealing his brother's blessing. Jacob has surely proven himself to be a great crafty deceiver. As his father stated to his brother, "Your brother came deceitfully and has taken away your blessing." Deceitfully. Deceitfully has taken your blessing. Chapter 28 of the beginning, Genesis. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and directed him, "You must not take a wife from the Canaanite women. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take as your wife take as your wife from there one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may become a company of peoples. May he give the blessing of Abraham to you and to your offspring with you, that you may take possession of the land of your sojournings that God gave to Abraham." Thus Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram to Laban, the sons of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he directed him, "You must not take a wife from the Canaanite women," and that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and gone to Padan Aram. So when Esau saw that the Canaanite women did not please Isaac his father, Esau went to Ishmael and took as his wife, besides the wife he had, Mahaleth, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. Jacob left Beersheba and went towards Haran. Esau was very mad. His brother snaked him out of his birthright and his blessing. His birthright and his blessing. Jacob did not only deceive his brother and his father, but Jacob deceived his uncle as well. And Jacob's uncle deceived him. When he went to go stay with Laban, his mother's brother, his uncle, he had eyes for a certain woman, but was deceived by Laban into serving 7 more years for the other daughter in which he wanted in the first place. According to Genesis chapter 29, verse 16. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in the form and appearance. Jacob loved Rachel, and he said, "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to any other man. Stay with me." So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife that I may go into her, for my time is completed." And this is where Laban snuck the older daughter in to Jacob's room, and Jacob wound up sleeping with the older daughter, and then served 7 more years for the younger daughter. So Jacob was being overworked, deceived by his own uncle. And because of this, Jacob had to figure a crafty way to get out of this situation. And Jacob did some type of scientific experiment in order to acquire majority of Laban's livestock. Genesis chapter 30, verse 29. Jacob said to him, "You yourself know how I serve you and how your livestock has fared with me. For you had little before I came, and it has increased abundantly. And the Lord has blessed you wherever I turn. But now, when shall I provide for my own household also?" He said, "What shall I give you?" Jacob said, "You shall not give me anything. If you will do this for me, I will again pasture your flocks and keep it. Let me pass through all your flocks today, removing from it every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black lamb, and every spotted and speckled among the goats. And they shall be my wages. So my honesty will answer for me later. When you come to look into my wages with you, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, if found with me, shall be counted stolen." Laban said, "Good, let it be as you have said." But that day Laban moved the male goats that were stripped and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white on it, and every lamb that was black, and put them in the charge of his sons. And he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob pastured the rest of Laban's flock. And Jacob took fresh sticks of poplar and almond and plane trees, and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the sticks. And he set the sticks that he had peeled in front of the flocks in the troughs, that is, the watering places where the flocks came to drink. And since they bred when they came to drink, the flocks bred in front of the sticks, and so the flocks brought forth striped, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs and set the faces of the flocks towards the stripes, and all the black in the flocks of Laban. He put his own droves apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. Whenever the stronger of the flock were breaded, Jacob would lay the sticks in the trough before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed among the sticks. But for the feebler of the flock, he would not lay them there, so the feebler would be Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. So he was very crafty in what he was doing. Thus, the man increased greatly and had large flocks, female servants and male servants, and camels and donkeys. And this is how he deceived Laban and craftily got out of that situation. He had to do something slick. He had to do something deceitful to get out of that situation, of that servitude to his uncle. according to Genesis chapter 31, verse 20. And Jacob tricked Laban, the Aramean, by not telling him that he intended to flee. He fled with all that he had, and arose and crossed the Euphrates, and set his face towards the hill country of Gilead. When it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him for 7 days, and followed close after him into the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night, and said to him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." Why was the DeCieVer chosen? So Jacob got out of that situation. And found himself in another situation because of his deceit. See, when you deceive people and you go around being crafty and lying and being slick, trying to get over, it catches up to you eventually. It catches up to you eventually. And it was catching up to the DeCieVer, or as we call him, Jacob. His deceit, is what caused him to get in so much trouble. He was deceitful. He was crafty. His father said he was deceitful. Esau, his brother, said he was deceitful, according to Genesis chapter 27. Which states, verse 36, Esau said, "It is not rightly named, is he not rightly named Jacob, or DeCieVer? For he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright. And behold, now he has taken away my blessing." Then he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Esau speaking to his father Isaac, saying that Jacob have cheated me, deceived you, stole. In the modern Hebrew, it says, Jacob said, "It is not right, is he not rightly called Jacob? For he has supplanted me." And they use the word we-akabini, which means, and he has supplanted me. And they use the word akab, which means to deal craftily, or to supplant. Which is way yakabini, which means and he supplanted me, or and he deceived me. Wikabani. And if you take the wav away and you take the suffix, the noon and the yod, you have Yakob, which means to deceive. So Jacob's name is to deceive. And Jacob was in the time where now he have deceived his brother. He have deceived his father. He have craftily deceived his uncle, to the point that his uncle was chasing him down, maybe even to hurt him. All this trouble Jacob was having because of his deception, because of his deceit. Genesis chapter 32. Jacob went on his way. This is after leaving Laban and getting out of that situation. He runs right into another situation. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." So he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. Instructing them, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, male servants, female servants. I have sent to tell my lord in order that I may find favor in your sight." Remember, he deceived his brother, stole his birthright, stole his blessing. Verse 6 of Genesis chapter 32. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and he is coming to meet you. And there are 400 men with him." Then Jacob, the deceiver, was greatly afraid and distressed. He divided the people who were with him and the flocks and the herds and camels into two camps, thinking if Esau comes to the one camp and attacks it, then the other camp that is left will escape. And Jacob said, "O God of my fathers, of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, return to your country and to your kindred, that I may do you good." Verse 10. "I am not worthy of the least of all the deeds of steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become two camps. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, that he may come and attack me, the mothers, with the children. But you said, I will surely do you good, and make your offspring as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So he stayed there that night. And from what he had with him, he took a present for his brother Esau. And within this same chapter, feeling scared and afraid, thinking that his brother was coming to kill him and his family, he tried to send gifts ahead of his brother coming to meet him. He sent 200 female goats and 20 male goats and 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their calves, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, 10 male donkeys. These he handed over to his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servant, pass on ahead of me, and put a space between drove and drove. He instructed the first. When Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, to whom do you belong? Where are you going? And who are these ahead of you? Then you shall say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present sent to my lord Esau, and moreover, he is behind us. He likewise instructed the second and the third, and all who follow the droves. You shall say the same thing to Esau when you find him. And you shall say, moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us, for he thought, I may appease him with the presence that goes ahead of me, and afterwards I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me and not kill me. So the presents passed on ahead of him, and he himself stayed that night in the camp. The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. And he took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had. Jacob was afraid. He was so afraid. He knew the deceit that he did to his brother by stealing his birthright, by stealing his blessing. He knew his deceit would catch up to him. And that's a lesson for all of us. You do wicked things. You deceive people. You lie to people. You deal with people craftily. It will come back. It will recirculate itself back to you. You will be rewarded for your doings. And Jacob, whose name means DeCieVer, his deceit was now coming back on him in the form of his brother and 400 men. Jacob was scared out of his mind. He was petrified. He sat alone. According to verse 24, and Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. A man was him. He was wrestling with himself. And a lot of times we have to do that. A lot of times we have to wrestle with ourselves, to better ourselves, to change ourselves. We might not always start off good in the first, but once we realize our faults, once our deceits and our sins and our wickedness come back to haunt us, and we are aware of our errors, we have to wrestle within ourselves to change our deceitful ways. And this is what Jacob was doing. He was wrestling with himself. When the man saw that he did not prevail against deceit, when he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." He wanted a real blessing. He did not want to be blessed through deceit. Jacob knew that the blessing that he was hoping for, he stole it. It wasn't a righteous blessing. It wasn't a blessing given to him. He stole it. And his brother is coming for revenge because of his deceit, because of his thievery. And Jacob wanted a real blessing, a true blessing, a righteous blessing. Not a blessing that he stole, a blessing that he can earn. I will not let you go unless you bless me. And he said to him, "What is your name?" And name in modern Hebrew or biblical, in a biblical understanding, is Shem. Shem means character. What is your character? What kind of person are you? Your name is your character. As we say, you don't want to do something to put a bad name on yourself. So your name is your character. He says, "What is your character? What is your name?" And he said, "DeCieVer," or Jacob, Jacob. Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be called DeCieVer, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." And Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob finally got a blessing, a righteous blessing, not a blessing that he stole, he deceitfully acquired. He wrestled, he struggled to get this blessing. And the blessing that he received is the blessing that he will prevail. He will overcome. He will not die by the hand of his brethren. So I was trying to say brethren. Brethren. He would not die by the hand of his brethren. He will live. He would not have to go through struggle like this anymore. He would not have to go through the deceit to acquire his wealth. And if you ever notice within this story, Jacob didn't have any more problems outside of his children giving him problems. But he himself never had to lie. He didn't have to deceive anymore because he changed who he was. He changed his character. He was no longer the deceiver. Now he will prevail over his own deception. He have prevailed. He have graduated. He has overcame that part of himself who was a deceiver. Now he's a righteous prince. He will walk upright. He would not have to hide and sneak around and do sneaky things and to survive. He can walk with pride. Because he is no longer the deceiver, but he is now Israel. But see, his children are deceitful as well. His children are a product of his deceitful ways. His firstborn slept with one of his wives, Simeon and Levi, attacked a nation of people because their sister Dinah was raped. His sons sold his other son to the Ishmaelites because of their jealousy. So Jacob's problems did not cease after he changed who he was. But now, the deceit, the deception of who he used to be has befallen on his children. And they are the deceitful ones. They are the deception. And this is why, according to Deuteronomy, I believe this is Deuteronomy I believe it's 32, if I'm not mistaken. Where Moses himself says that you are a stiff-necked people. It basically, he was like, it just doesn't make no sense whatsoever on how you people act. You have tempted God. You have disrespected the commandments. You have done all these things. After you have seen all these great wonders, you still are rebellious. And even within Deuteronomy, he says, I can't even believe y'all people are like this. I can't believe it. And he writes a song about the corruption of Israel. So they can remember that they were always a deceitful people. Deuteronomy chapter 31. And when many evils and troubles have come upon them, this song shall confront them as a witness, for it will live unforgotten in the mouths of their offspring. For I know what they are inclined to do even today, before I have brought them into the land that I swore to give. So it was already written. It was already known. According to Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 29. For I know that after my death, you will surely act corruptly and turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And in the days to come, evil will befall you, because you will not do what is evil, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the works of your hands. These people are a stiff-necked people. They are a deceitful people. They have always been a deceitful people. They come from the deceiver himself. Jacob himself was a deceiver. And he deceived everyone he came across. He deceived his brother. He deceived his father. He deceived his uncle. He deceived himself. And it wasn't until he changed his ways, till he renewed himself, till he wrestled with himself, until he decided that he will be a new person, a different person. That is when the deception stopped with Jacob. So why would the Creator choose a rebellious, stiff-necked people? Why? Why? Why was these people chosen if God knew they was not going to follow the law. If God knew that all these beautiful laws and commandments would be set before these people and they would turn their back on the Torah, why was they chosen? Why was they chosen? If God knew that these people were not going to keep the law, why did he choose them? Why did he choose the most rebellious, stiff-necked people in the earth? Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 29. For I know that after my death you will surely act corruptively and turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. So it was already known that the Israelites were going to turn their back on the Torah. Already known. That was already known, is already known, that they was going to turn their back on the Torah. Before they even got into the land, they was already turning their back on the Torah. Through the whole 40 years in the wilderness. Why did God pick these people? Why? Are these truly a chosen people for righteousness? Or was they chosen as an example of how not to be? Was the children of Jacob chosen? Because Abraham had more children than just Isaac. He had children with Keturah. He had a child with Hagar. Those seeds of Abraham are blessed as well. And through those seeds, all families of the earth shall be blessed. So the question remains, what was the purpose of the children of Jacob? Are they the cursed people on earth to give the rest of humanity the opportunity not to be like Israel? Israel is the one nation that God has come to and is the only nation to turn their back on God like that. Is it possible that the Israelites were chosen, the children of Jacob were chosen not to be the righteous liberators of the Torah, but to be the example of the cursed, of disobedience and disobeying God? Because the Israelites will never return to Torah. They would never accept Torah. They will never keep Torah. In the day that the Israelites do keep Torah, their name will no longer be Israel. They will be known by another name. Because Israel was the nation who turned their back on God. And they are the examples of what happens when you turn your back on God, when you disrespect God, when you throw His laws, His way behind your back. All the curses, all the plagues will happen to you and your nation. And if all the nations of the earth are in the same practice as the children of Israel in disobedience and disobeying God, then the whole earth will be cursed for their sakes. So I do not believe that the children of Israel were chosen for righteousness. I believe that the children of Israel were chosen to be the examples of how not to conduct yourself with the Creator of all. Read the stories of Israel and be not like them. Be not like those unbelievers. Be not like the people of the book. Submit yourself to Allah. Submit to God wholly. Do not be as Israel, the deceitful nation, the rebellious nation, the stiff-necked nation. Be not as them. Let Israel be an example of what not to be. This is why Israel was chosen. This is why Jacob was chosen. He was chosen to be the example of what not to do. He's not chosen for righteousness. As it states in the redemption, Israel shall be called by a new name, and their land shall be called by a new name. The name of Israel will be no more. It will cease to exist. That awful name will cease to be heard. For Israel is a corrupt nation, a nation who has disrespected God, turned their backs on the mercy and compassionate one. And as you read your Bibles, as you read your Qurans, you will hear about this corrupt nation of people called Israel. You will hear how they killed their own prophets, slaughtered their own messiahs. You will hear how they turned their backs on the living God to create idols of cows and calves, to worship them, not to worship the true Creator. For Israel is the example. They were chosen not because they were a righteous nation. Israel was chosen because they was the most rebellious nation. Israel is the chosen people, but they are not chosen for righteousness. Israel is chosen for punishment. And through their punishment, through the curse of Israel, may all families of the earth witness the curse of Israel and be not as them. Be not as the cursed. Do the opposite of them who are cursed. So you can receive the blessing. This is what spawned Islam. This is why when you read the Quran, the first book of the Quran speaks on how the Israelites made a calf and worshipped the calf despite worshiping Allah, in spite of worshiping Allah. They decided to make a calf in the wilderness. And within the Islamic religious text, it teaches Muslims on what not to do according to the will of Allah by giving them the example of the cursed of Allah, which is the children of Israel. So yes, Israel, you are chosen to be cursed, not to be blessed. And this is why Jacob was chosen. This is why the DeCieVer was chosen.